Hi there, welcome back to my knitting channel. My name is Alona and today I wanna talk with you about different boat neck top patterns. Currently I'm wearing my blouse number 1 and I have a feeling that probably previous year this blouse started a little bit of fashion on Instagram with such type of neck. I'm sure show it a little bit with you. It looks like this. It's definitely like quite wide boat neck and looks so beautiful. And we have more and more patterns with such type of the neck, and also there are quite a lot of them before that were created some time ago before this one. But I don't know, I have a feeling, maybe I'm slightly biased, but I have a feeling that this pattern definitely returned such type of necks, and we have more and more of them. So today I want to share with you several camisoles or sleeveless tops with such type of neck, tee, and several long sleeved versions of patterns like sweaters with such type of the neck as well. And you can decide what to knit and how to add a new boat neck to your knitting wardrobe. And without further ado, let's dive into those patterns. The first pattern that I want to share with you is Mixed Rib Cami. This is a quite new pattern designed by Florence Müller or handmade by Florence here on YouTube and also on Instagram. This is a camisole. And it's stunning. Really, I'm a huge fan of this camisole. I like it a lot, but I'm not sure that I'm ready to knit it this summer because it's fingering weight camisole with mixed rib. You have chunks of parts with stockinette stitch, with twisted rib, like twisted knits, and purl stitches. And while you are knitting like this front yoke and back yoke, you have to purl through the back loop, not only knit, so it can be kind of fiddly, and it's still 3mm needles. So it can be a little bit challenging, but it's definitely amazing and very, very beautiful. Plus, you're knitting it from top to down, so you can decide with lengths whatever you want to do. And also this pattern includes some waist shaping that you can add or omit. As for the finishing, this pattern has I-cord edges for the neckline and for the armhole. I can say that's quite bra-friendly pattern, but you still probably may see a slightly bra strap over here, but it's happening, for example, with this blouse as well. As you can see right now, you can probably see it a little bit over here, so it's not a huge problem. Plus, if you're knitting it with some sturdy yarn, probably you can knit it without, you can wear it without a bra, because there is from 10 to 15 centimeters of negative ease, so I think that it can give you some support. Not like perfect support, but still some of it. The pattern has 9 sizes from 75 centimeters bust to 155 centimeter bust. It's like your bust, and it's quite good sizing for camisoles, to be honest. The gauge of this camisole is 30 stitches per 38 rows in mixed rib stitch on 3mm needles, so it's quite dense gauge. And the recommended yarn is knitting for olive merino or knitting for olive cotton merino. I'm not sure about knitting for olive pure silk, to be honest, because it tends to grow a lot. This is my blouse that's knitted in 2 strands of knitting for olive silk, and it grow a lot, believe me. So probably worth choosing something with a little bit of wool content, because you're going with negative ease, but still be cautious that in some places woolly camisoles or camisoles with wool may be a little bit even itchy. For example, for me, cotton merino of knitting for olive can be slightly itchy when it's plus 32, for example, just because I'm starting to sweat. And in this case, merino can be a little bit itchy for me. The next top that I want to share with you is SABAI top. It's top by Susanne Müller, who is, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, it's Paula Strick on Instagram and on Ravelry. This is a camisole that you're working top down. At first you are casting on stitches, knitting in the round in stockinette stitch or in 1x1 rib. It depends which version of this pattern you decide to go, because you can knit just, like simple stockinette camisole without anything, or you can have some 1x1 rib on the neckline to add a little bit of structure and some interest. Unfortunately, that's not a really size-inclusive pattern because it has 6 sizes from 74 centimeters of bust to 127 centimeters. It's around 30 inches, from 30 inches to 50 inches, with 0 to 2 centimeters of positive ease, or from 0 or 0.8 inches of positive ease. The gauge for this pattern is 20 stitches per 28 rows in stockinette, and the recommended yarn is DK yarn or light fingering plus light fingering. For example, you can try to knit it in 2 strands of Sandnes Guaranteed Line. I heard on one of the podcasts from those twins who knit that I think both girls knitted this top. It looks really beautiful on them, but be aware that's not quite size inclusive. The next pattern that I want to share with you is camisole number 10. This is like some variation of blouse number 10, blouse number 1 by my favorite since knitwear. And surprisingly, it has a little bit more sizes than the previous one. It has similar look, slightly different gauge. It has a similar construction, and even the process of how you start knitting it looks pretty similar, because it's again a summer camisole that you start knitting from the top to bottom, so you can choose the length and the armhole dips. To be honest, for me it's much easier to check where your armhole finishes when you're knitting from top down and not from the bottom up. This is quite simple top that you start knitting again in the round, probably adding some short rows, I'm not sure about it, and then you are splitting for front and back, knit them separately, front yoke, back yoke, add some increases for the armhole, probably not in all sizes, but it should be for some sizes definitely. And then you're joining in the round under the arm and knitting till you want to finish it. So it's definitely something that you can knit to knit up your stash when you have some adequate amount of yarn. You can just knit and finish when you're finished with the yarn. The finishing details here can be I-cord edges or nothing. For example, my blouse number 1 done without any finishing. This is just normal pinned off in the pattern. The same with the bottom, and nothing added here. It doesn't roll too much, to be honest. So like after blocking, you can choose this way of finishing garment as well. It has 8 sizes from 88 centimeters to 144 centimeters, which means 34 and 3/4 inches to 56 and 3/4 inches, with recommended ease of from 2 to 4 centimeters, or from 3/4 inches or 1.5 inches of positive ease. The gauge over here is 18 stitches per 28 rows on 5mm needles, and the recommended yarn here is DK weight or light fingering plus light fingering. And the last camisole that I want to share with you, or last summer top that I want to share with you in this category, is quite, I think, I can't say quite old, but it's been here for quite some time. This is a Soho top by Caidree. This is all garter stitch top that you start knitting again from the top down, and you need to knit in the round after the armpit, but I know that some people recommend knitting it flat and then join with seam, because garter stitch in the round is not so enjoyable for some people, because you need to knit one round and then purl one round, and then you need to create this like full seam to hide your beginning of the round. So if you're not sure about knitting in the round garter stitch, you can definitely try to knit front and back separately and then seam it. Maybe that's a great idea for you. It has again a boat neck, and they have a film that's probably the boat neck with the smallest, I can say strap, but it has some small strap, and maybe it's less bra friendly from others, but still I like how it looks. It has again I-cord edges as a finishing details. I think that probably most of the summer tops has this finishing detail. It has 10 sizes from 76 centimeters to 136 centimeters of finished garment, all from 30 inches to 53 inch and a half. And the recommended is over here from, by the way, it was very important that it was the sizing of finished garments. Before it was your bust size, like bust size that's garment created for, and over here you have finished garment circumference, and the is over here from 0 to 7 centimeters or from 0 inches to 3 inches of positive is. The gauge over here is 20 stitches per 35 rows in garter stitch, because it's quite stretchy, so probably that's why it's 35 rows on 4mm needles. And the recommended yarn weight is fingering plus fingering, or you can try to use something like Sanders Garn Lino, which is DK weight yarn. And it's definitely a great palette cleanser. Definitely recommend to knit it. And that was all of the camisoles or sleeveless patterns that I wanted to share with you. Let's switch to some tees or top. I think it's more like tees. So the first tee that I want to share with you is Brightest tee by Lily Kate Friends, or Lily Kate Makes on Instagram, and if I'm not mistaken, she also has a YouTube channel. Probably check her out. And this is very beautiful tee, again with boat neck. It's not so wide as previous ones, but still adds some this like beautiful board that highlights your neck. Also, this pattern has satin sleeves. Probably I've never done satin sleeves because this is called contiguous construction. It looks pretty beautiful. It has 1x1 rib edge details for the neck, for the sleeves, and for the bottom edge. Also, you have some kind of, it's not seam, like it's not a seam in the garment, but you have some eyelet details and short cup sleeves. I'm not a big fan of cup sleeves on me, but I think it could be a great pattern for someone. Plus, you can knit the sleeves much longer, and it could be a great addition to your wardrobe, especially for the layering. So what about sizes? As for the sizes, this pattern has 9 of them, from 71-76 centimeters bust to 152-157 centimeters of bust, which means from 28 to 30 inches, no, from 28-30 inches to 60-62 inches. And the pattern suggests having from 6 to 10 centimeters or from 2 to 4 inches of negative ease. So it will be quite slim, tight-fitting tee, but I think that you can even try to knit it with a little bit of positive ease, but I'm not sure how it will work with the sleeves. But maybe you can try. And the gauge over here is 26 stitches to 36 rows on 3 0.25mm needles, and I think that's the tea that Marlene recently knitted from on her podcast. So probably you can check out her podcast and learn a little bit more about that one. No, it wasn't that one, but the one she knitted was with quite similar gauge and quite similar. I think only the neck. Only the neck is a little bit different, because over here we have a boat neck. And the recommended yarn is fingering weight yarn, so you can choose again your favorite fingering weight yarn and knit it. And as for the amount of yarn that you need, it can be some stitch busting garment as well, because you don't need a lot of yarn, depending on size, obviously, but still. The next one is quite unusual for me, to be honest, and I was enhanced to add it over here or not, but I still decided to add it because it's a summer, so why not to have something meshy. And the next pattern is boat neck Batwing by James and Watts, and this is a fully mesh tee with boat neck, because we're here talking about boat necks, right? It can be something like summer layering piece, or something that you can knit and take with you to the beach. Probably you can even knit it in a dress, quite long, like summer beachy dress. I think it can be quite nice. You can definitely wear it with some your camisoles or some crop tops. Could be quite great to have something and at the same time don't have something. This is this is the first bottom-up construction that we have over here. There is no specific finishing details as far as I understood. And it has 9 sizes from 61 cm to 137, or from 24 inches to 54 inches of waist circumference, because you're starting from the bottom and knitting bottom up. So the measurements are based on your waist. Be cautious about this. And the recommended is 10-15 centimeters or 4-6 inches. The gauge is 20 stitches to 12 stitches to 22 rows in the mesh pattern, and the recommended yarn is fingering weight yarn. So you're knitting quite, like open gauge summer garment that can be again a great stash busting and can add something interesting to your wardrobe. The next pattern that I have here for you is probably something surprising, but if you look closer to Ranunculus, you can find out that it has a boat neck. And even Ravelry suggests that's a boat neck, and in a lot of pattern photos that I went through, it really has this boat neck vibe, so I decided to include it here. You can knit it with long sleeve, with short sleeve, and the pattern suggests how to do it. As for the finishing details, you can knit it with I-cord, you can knit it with 1x1 rib, whatever you wish. Sizing for this pattern is 11 sizes with finished garment from 117 centimeters to 180 centimeters, which is from 46 inches to 70 3/4 inches. And the pattern does not suggest any ease, so you can decide what will work for you. The recommended gauge here is 14 stitches to 20 rows with main fabric needle. But what I can add over here, that the pattern suggests quite open gauge for the lace weight, for example, because the pattern suggests that you can knit it with lace weight, with light fingering, DK, sport weight, like till worsted weight yarn, and you can decide how transparent it will be. But you can play with the gauge and choose, for example, light fingering weight yarn with a smaller needle and knit yourself a tee that won't be so transparent. It will have smaller gauge, and you can choose another size to knit it with less positive ease, and to knit it, for example, if I take a smaller, if I will take the smallest size, knit it with gauge for fingering weight yarn of the decay weight yarn, I can get something with less positive ease, because for smallest size will give me around 30 centimeters of positive ease, which is something that I don't really like sometimes for something more summery. But it depends. Still, you can play with this pattern. And I know that a lot of people try to knit it with decay weight yarn, and it has created quite beautiful results. The next pattern that I have for you is quite new. It will be released quite soon, or it's already released. I think that it should be released quite soon. This is Sevilla Blouse by PetiteKnit. This is a brand new pattern from PetiteKnit. I don't know how she didn't release this pattern previous year, but this year she finally released her version of boat neck blouse. This is blouse or a sweater, how you feel naming it better. It has drop shoulder. You knit it top down with boat neck. You start knitting from the back, your custom stitches for the back, knitting some amount of back. Then you're picking up stitches for the front and working front with short rows to shape this beautiful boat neck. You can have finishing with 1x1 rib, but I can think that you can change to roll neck or something simple without any finishing details. And I know that quite a lot of people are looking forward to seeing this pattern release, because it's not a blouse number 1, but it has quite similar gauge and quite similar vibe, but with a little bit different shoulder construction, which may be a little bit more comfortable for a lot of people, and maybe a little bit more, I can't say like familiar, but maybe something a little bit more convenient. Let's try to call it like that. The pattern will have 10 sizes from 88 centimeters of bust circumference to 158, or from 34.75 inches to 62.5 inches. The recommended ease here is 8 centimeters or 3.25 inches. And the pattern, the designer recommends to knit it with positive ease. So this is again difference with blouse number 1, because blouse number 1 should have negative ease. But we'll talk a little bit later about it. Sevilla blouse has a gauge of 18 stitches to 27 rows in stockinette on 5mm needles. And the recommended yarn here is, I don't know why Ravelry called it decay weight plus fingering, with decay plus fingering, while Trio 1, I would say that Trio 1 is probably light fingering or even closer to the lace weight, and palette is something like sport weight maybe. I'm not sure over here, but that's what we have. And that's definitely something new that you can knit for yourself. The next pattern that I have for you, this is blouse number 1, which I am wearing today. This is a blouse, or again a sweater with contiguous construction, with fitted sleeves that you have with fitted long sleeves that are a little bit increased over here. It's not a bell sleeve. It's not a, I don't know how to describe this type of sleeve. You're decreasing, and then at some point you adding several increases to add a little bit of the shape to the pattern. It can have rolled edges or I-cord edges, whatever you wish. It has 8 sizes from 80 centimeters to 140 centimeters, or from 31.5 inches to 55 inches, with 10 centimeters or 4 inches of negative ease. The gauge over here is quite similar to Sevilla blouse. It is 19 stitches to 27 rows in stockinette stitch on 5mm needles, and the recommended yarn over here is light fingering plus light fingering. And important note over here, if you're planning to knit blouse number 1, please choose probably smaller size, especially if you're in between of the sizes, because I'm usually like size S for PetiteKnit's pattern, but over here I'm planning to need a second one, and I will definitely need the smallest size because it grew quite a lot over here, especially like underarm and over here. I still wear it. I can't say that's not something that I like to wear. I wear it quite a lot, especially when it's a little bit chilly outside. But I would definitely need smaller size for myself. The next pattern that I have here for you is the Dentelle Douce sweater by Caidree. Once again, we're here with Caidree. This is a boat neck pattern. This is a boat neck sweater with raglan. Probably that's something that someone may like. The first sweater that I shared with you was drop shoulder, second one is contiguous, and the third one is raglan. So you can choose what you feel suits you better. It's quite simple, once again, just stockinette sweater, or probably we can call it a blouse as well, without any finishing details. It has 10 sizes with finished garment from 97 centimeters to 164. I have some problems with digits today. By the way, you can check out the file that's linked in the description of this video, with Excel file with all comparison of the patterns that I've shared here with you, with links to the patterns, and also there is a Ravelry bundle that I've created with all boat necks that I'm talking today. Finished garment from 38 inches to 64.5 inches. And important note, again, this is finished garment circumference. If I'm not mentioning, this is bust circumference that the pattern is designed for. The ease over here is from 5 to 10 centimeters, or around 2-4 inches of positive ease, and the gauge is 20 stitches per 27 rows in stockinette stitch. The recommended yarn over here is Cardiff Cashmere, and it creates gauge similar to DQ weight, and I think that you can try to knit it with something like Knitting for Olive Cotton Merino held double, for example, or something like that, to make it a little bit more summery than cashmere. I'm not sure that cashmere is quite summery yarn, especially if you're not living in Norway or somewhere else. Probably you need something a little bit lighter for such time, and this can be again a great summery layering piece when it's a little bit chillier outside. And I have a feeling that such necks quite great works for summer because they're quite open, but for me definitely not for winter. I'll be too cold with such neck. Let's go to the next one. We have several more patterns, and the next one is Wishful sweater, once again by Lily Kate Makes, or Lily Kate France. I can't say that I've just discovered this designer, but today her patterns like straight to the point. It's definitely what we are looking for. This is a boat neck sweater with a little less wide boat neck, but you can play a little bit and, for example, start knitting slightly bigger size and then cast on like for the bigger size, and then just don't have so many increases. This is again a set sleeve construction with a little tailored fit, and the pattern includes different versions of sleeves. You can have balloon sleeves or you can have tapered sleeves, or whatever feels right for you. What about sizing? As for the sizing, there is 9 sizes from 76 centimeters of bust to 152 157, or from 28-30 inches to 60-62 inches. The recommended ease over here is quite tricky because for sizes from 1 to 3 you have 10-15 centimeters of positive ease, or for 6 inches. For sizes from 4 to 6 you have 8-12 centimeters or 3-5 inches of positive ease, and for sizes from 6 to 9 you have 5-10 or centimeters or 2-4 inches. So check out the pattern over here or my written comments on my Excel spreadsheet comparison. And the gauge over here is 15 stitches and 22 rows in stockinette stitch. The pattern recommends to knit it with Aran weight yarn with something like Drops Air, I think. Yes? Yeah, like Drops Air or probably like EcoSoft by Isager or maybe something like that. Or you can try and swatch. Quite important to swatch here with something like 2 fingering weight yarns or 2 sport weight yarns, probably some sport weight cotton or something like that to create this sweater a little bit more summer appropriate. Or you live in a place where it's not bad to wear Drops Air in summer. This can be a way as well. The next one is a summer stripe sweater number 2. And when I saw this sweater, I was surprised that I've never seen it before. This is patterned by Ozetta, which was created, I think that it was created in a collaboration with Woolflock or probably in a collaboration with them or specifically for them. This is a top-down sweater that you are knitting with shoulder increases. You are starting again from the top, knitting some amount of shoulder increases to get beautiful shoulder seam. Then you are splitting for front and back and knitting flat front, knitting flat back, then joining the round and finishing the body. It has split hem and I'm not sure about 1x1 rib because on photos it looks like it may have this rib, but can't guarantee. It has 9 sizes and the finished measurements for this sweater is from 95 centimeters to 160 centimeters or from 37.5 inches to 63 inches. The recommended ease here is around 17 centimeters or 7 inches of positive ease. And the gauge is 22 stitches to 32 rows, and the recommended yarn here is DK yarn, and over here the recommended is Woolflock straw. And the thing that can be great summer sweater, and the name definitely calls like summer sweater. Also, I have 2 patterns to share with you, which are quite maybe not fully boat necks, but I can say that's a boat neck with without shoulders. It's like off-shoulder patterns, and probably that's something that you can call boat neck for summers. The first one is Vincent Blouse by Johanna Gehrisch or Caidree by Johanna on Instagram, and her website is also Caidree by Johanna. So this is stunning blouse. It definitely has a boat neck, but quite deep boat neck because it's even off shoulders. You're starting from knitting double knitted band, then you're picking up stitches and knitting from top to bottom with some, I think that's some, yeah, this is a raglan increases. So you're knitting like a raglan. You're splitting for sleeves, you're finishing sleeves with some I-cord details, the same for the body, and then you're picking up once again stitches from this double knitted band, and you're knitting ruffle. And I think that's stunning, really. It looks pretty amazing. It has 9 sizes from 127 centimeters to 175 centimeters of finished garment, and the positive ease here is 40-50 centimeters for smaller sizes and 25-35 centimeters for larger sizes. Please check out the pattern description to find out which amount of ease will be better for you, but it looks so beautiful. When she posted information about testing this pattern, I was like, I'm not ready to knit it in a month, but it's so beautiful, and I think that I need somewhere in the future to knit it for myself. The gauge here is 22 stitches to 36 rows on 3.5mm needles in stockinette again, and the recommended yarn weight is fingering weight yarn, so it will be quite a lot of knitting, but because there's nothing happening flat, you'll need just to knit, and that's it. And the last pattern in the similar category than the previous one with boat neck of the shoulders is JUNO top by Inês Oliveira, or also known as PetiteKnit. This is again a seamless top-down pattern knitted in rib stitch. It's like rib and cables, something in between. It has scalloped crochet edges, and the pattern itself has several options, and one of them is off-shoulder boat neck with long sleeve or with short sleeve, but also you can knit it as a bandeau top or a top with the straps. But over here we are more interested in off-shoulder boat neck construction. It has 16 sizes from 76-80 centimeters to 151-155 centimeters, or from 30-32 inches to 60-62 inches. As for the ease, it's hard to determine it for in general, because this is around 40% of negative ease, which may vary for different sizes, so you can definitely check out her pattern, and if you decide to go with it, you'll need to go and read it quite pretty precisely to understand what's going on, and read it carefully, because even to understand what is you should get, you need to check it out. The gauge over here is tricky again, because you need to have 38 rows in 10 centimeters, but for the stitches it's quite different. You need to have one pattern repeat in 1.3 centimeters or half of inch unstretched, and then 2.5 centimeters or 1 inch stretched, because the pattern will have a lot of negative ease, and you need to check the gauge with stretched and unstretched swatch. So be pretty careful with it. And the recommended yarn weight here is again fingering weight yarn, and I would recommend knitting it with yarn with some woolly content. It can be a little bit of it, but definitely you need to have it, because the pattern will have a lot of negative ease, and if you knit it with 100% cotton or silk, it can be a little bit problematic because it could stretch a lot. But the pattern itself is so beautiful. I wanted to test it previous year, but wasn't selected, and probably for such intricate garments I need to have a deadlines, as I already mentioned in my previous videos. And that's almost it. I also really wanted to include one pattern of Gregoria fibers here, but the pattern wasn't really the pattern hasn't been released yet, and Gregoria Fibers doesn't share a lot of information about her patterns before releases. That's why you can't find any information about finishing details, about sizing, ease, construction. About construction you can get a little bit from pattern photos, and for the gauge you can get any information, but I will add over here a picture with the name of the pattern, because I forget how does it called, but this is a really beautiful, again, boat neck sweater. It's summery sweater, because the recommended yarn over here is Cotton Waves by Gepard, and it has beautiful braid or cable around the whole boat neck, which emphasizes this part even more, and it looks definitely pretty, it's simple and interesting at the same time. It's definitely worth checking it. And please let me tell in the comments below, have you knitted something of these patterns, or maybe you are interested in boat necks and you have some other suggestions for me. Please let me know in the comments below about those, and have a nice time. Have a nice knitting time, and see you next time. Bye!